My stepbrother forged my name on a loan and left me to face the consequences. When I begged him to fix it, he said, "Figure it out. That's what you're good at." I nodded. He didn't know I'd already reported the signature as forgery and given his laptop as evidence. When he was denied a mortgage, he called me crying because the banker said, "I never thought I'd be betrayed by my own blood." Well, stepblood, but still. Dalton and I grew up together since I was 12 and he was 10, after my mom married his dad. We weren't close, but we weren't enemies either. He was the kind of guy who always smiled just a second too long. My mom used to say, "Dalton's just got a charming streak." Yeah, well, that charm would nearly ruin my life. I'm 38 now. I live in Phoenix, Arizona. I've worked the same paralegal job for over a decade. I've never missed a bill, never had a late credit card payment. I don't live big. Just a one-bedroom, a used car, and a coffee maker I trust more than most people. A few months ago, I got a letter in the mail. Big red font. Final notice. I thought it was junk until I saw my name at the top. Jordan Hayes. That's me. The letter said I was 6 months behind on a loan. $35,000. The lender? Some private company I'd never heard of. I stared at the page for a long time before sitting down. I flipped to the signature page. That was my signature. Sort of. I knew my own signature well. I see it dozens of times a day at work, comparing it on affidavits and contracts. This one looked like someone had copied it, slowly and carefully. A forgery. My chest felt tight. I tried to stay calm. First, I called the lender. They told me the loan had been taken out online. No face-to-face meeting. Just a digital form and identity documents uploaded through their portal. I asked for the documents. They emailed them over. I opened the files and saw my own ID. My license scanned and uploaded. My signature. My social security number. But it wasn't me. I hadn't done any of it. I thought someone had stolen my identity. But then I saw the email used to apply, daltonhayes88@gmail.com. I stared at the screen for a long time. Dalton lived with me for about 6 months last year. He was in between jobs and had just broken up with his girlfriend. I let him crash in my apartment because family's supposed to help each other. He used the spare room and worked DoorDash to stay afloat. I didn't ask for rent. And this is how he thanked me. That night, I printed out the paperwork, drove straight to our dad's house, where Dalton was now living, and threw the packet down on the table. "What the hell is this?" I asked. He didn't even pretend to be confused. He just looked at the paper, then looked at me and said, "I used your name." That's it. Like it was no big deal. He leaned back and added, "Look, Jordan, I needed some quick cash. You've got good credit. I thought I could pay it off before you even noticed." "You forged my name," I said. "That's a felony." He laughed. "Jesus, calm down. You're always so uptight. Just figure it out, man. That's what you're good at." That's what he said. Figure it out. That's what you're good at. I didn't scream. I didn't punch him. I didn't even argue. I nodded and walked out. He didn't know I'd already started the process. Earlier that day, when I saw the signature and the loan account, I'd filed a police report. I work in legal. I knew exactly how to handle this. I also knew that Arizona took financial fraud seriously. That weekend, while he was out, I went back to the apartment where he stayed before and grabbed his old laptop from the closet. He left it behind. I powered it up, found his passwords saved in Chrome. Emails. Spreadsheets. Scanned copies of my ID. Everything. I brought all of it to the detective assigned to the case. Turned it in with a full report. I signed an affidavit. I showed my work records, phone logs, everything proving I never touched that loan. And then I waited. Dalton didn't know anything was happening. He kept living like nothing was wrong. Posting on Facebook, sharing barbecue pics, talking about some mortgage he was trying to get for a house in Mesa with his new girlfriend. About 6 weeks later, he called me early one morning. I'll never forget his voice. "Jordan, I think there's something wrong with my credit. I just got denied." I stayed quiet. He went on. "The banker said I'm flagged for identity fraud. That I'm connected to an open investigation. He said my accounts are frozen. What the hell is going on? I finally spoke. You figured it out yet? I asked. He didn't say anything. That silence was everything. I thought that call would be the end of it. But Dalton wasn't the type to take a loss quietly. A week later, I got a text from my dad. You need to come by. Dalton's saying some serious stuff about you. When I pulled into Dad's driveway, Dalton was already outside pacing. He looked rough. Eyes puffy, hair a mess, wearing the same shirt from yesterday's Instagram photo. His voice was tense. You told the cops I forged that loan, he said. You actually went that far? I didn't answer. I just stared at him. You're ruining my life, Jordan, he said. I'm gonna lose everything. My job found out. They suspended me. I can't even get a credit card. You did this, I said calmly. Not me. You. My dad came outside, looking confused and caught in the middle. Jordan, is that true? You called the police on him? I turned to Dad. He stole my identity. He forged my name on a $35,000 loan. He never even tried to fix it. Dalton cut in, shouting now. It was a favor. I was going to pay it off. Using my name, I said. Without my permission. That's not a favor. That's a crime. My dad didn't know what to say. He just rubbed his forehead. Dalton stormed off. For the next few weeks, things got worse. He started spreading lies to anyone who'd listen. Told my aunt I loaned him the money willingly and then changed my mind. Told my cousins I was trying to frame him because I was jealous of how successful he was getting. Said I was bitter because he was getting married soon and I was still single. The lies made it back to me. They stung, but I didn't respond. But one day, I got a call from HR at my job. Apparently, someone filed an anonymous ethics complaint saying I'd falsified legal documents. Claimed I forged a signature on a court filing. I knew immediately who it was. I had to go through an internal review to clear my name. Dalton tried to take me down with him. But what he didn't know was that the forgery investigation was wrapping up, and the case had been referred to the county attorney's office. Then came the real twist. The detective called me. Dalton's girlfriend just came in, he said. She brought us more documents. I was stunned. Apparently, she found a folder in his closet labeled loan docs. Inside were copies of every form he used. Fake references. Edited PDFs. Notes like Jay's birthday, March 14th, and use VPN when logging in. She brought all of it in. She told the detective she didn't want to be tied to someone who screws over his own family. With her evidence, they got a warrant. They seized Dalton's phone and more electronics from Dad's house. The case became airtight. But I wasn't celebrating yet. I knew the legal process would take time. And Dalton, he still had tricks left. A few weeks after the girlfriend handed over the evidence, things went quiet. Too quiet. That's when I started getting strange messages. First, it was a burner number. You think you've won, but you don't know what I've got. Then a message from an unknown email. Screenshots of old private conversations I'd had with my ex from years ago. Nothing criminal, but personal enough to be embarrassing. I figured Dalton must have gone digging through my old backup drive. He knew I kept it in the storage unit when we lived together. He was trying to blackmail me. The next day, I got a letter at my apartment. No return address, just a printout of a fake, cease and desist letter accusing me of harassment, with my work address listed in bold at the bottom. I knew it was fake. I read legal documents for a living. But he was escalating. Getting desperate. Then, the worst hit. I got a call from my landlord. Jordan, I just had someone from a collections agency call the office asking about your lease. They said your name came up in an active fraud case. That's when I realized Dalton was trying to poison everything around me. My job, my lease, my life. But what he didn't realize is, every move he made was another nail in his own coffin. I saved the emails, the texts, even the envelope from the fake letter. Turned all of it over to the detective. That same week, Dalton's girlfriend left him. She cleaned out their joint account before she walked. Left a note on his windshield. I won't go down with you. 2 days later, I got a call from the county. They were officially pressing charges. 2 counts of felony forgery, 1 count of identity theft, and 1 count of attempted retaliation against a witness. That last charge? It came from the harassment, the threats, the blackmail. He'd been stupid enough to do it all digitally. He left a trail a mile wide. When they arrested him, he tried to blame everything on me. Said I set him up. Said I framed him because I always hated him. But this wasn't just my word against us anymore. They had timestamps, IP logs, email trails, and witness testimony. His girlfriend. My digital evidence. The forged loan paperwork. The fake cease and desist letter. The DA said it was one of the most clear-cut identity fraud cases they'd seen in years. Still, I didn't celebrate. Not yet. Because what came next, the trial, the fallout, the final twist, would change everything. The trial started about 5 months after Dalton was arrested. He showed up in a wrinkled suit, looking thinner, eyes sunken. The courtroom was small, no cameras, just cold silence and low murmurs. I was called as the main witness. I had to sit there and look him in the eye while I told the judge and jury what happened. I brought everything. The forged documents, the laptop data, the email chains, the police reports, the voicemail recordings, the photos of the fake letter. I laid it all out. He didn't even look sorry. His lawyer tried to spin it. Said it was a misunderstanding. Said Dalton thought I would have said yes if he had asked. Tried to claim there was a verbal agreement between us. Then the prosecutor dropped the bomb. They brought in his ex-girlfriend to testify. She had texts where Dalton bragged about using my credit, said I was too dumb to notice, and that if I ever did, I'd just cry to Dad and move on. The jury looked disgusted. After 3 days, the verdict came in, guilty on all counts. Sentencing happened a month later. He got 4 years. 4 years in state prison. No parole for the first 2. The judge called his actions malicious and calculated. Said he betrayed the very person who had given him shelter when no one else would. My dad was in the courtroom. He didn't say a word. Just sat there with his hands clenched, watching his only son get taken away in cuffs. That should have been the end. But the revenge wasn't finished. Because of the criminal charges and the loan default, the lender filed a civil suit against Dalton. They demanded repayment of the $35,000 plus legal fees. They froze his remaining assets. Then his employer, who had suspended him earlier, fired him officially, citing conduct damaging to company trust. His new girlfriend blocked him. Friends stopped taking his calls. Nobody believed his story anymore. But the final twist came when I checked my credit report one day, just to be sure. And I saw something else. Dalton had tried to open another loan in my name 3 years ago, back when he lived with me. It was a smaller amount, only $7,500, and it was rejected because the address verification didn't match. I had no idea he'd been trying to scam me even back then. So I filed another report. That one didn't go to court, but it was added to his criminal record as a pattern of behavior. Another nail in the coffin. And me? I rebuilt. The bank finally removed the loan from my name after the case. My credit took a hit, but I had documents now to explain everything. I filed official statements with the credit bureaus. Within 6 months, my score was almost fully restored. But I didn't forget. A few months after Dalton was sent away, I sent him a letter. Just one sentence. You told me to figure it out, so I did. He never wrote back. Last I heard, he was working in the prison kitchen, trying to avoid fights. His dad stopped visiting. His ex sold the house they were saving for. And when he gets out, he'll have a felony record, no credit, no job history, and no family support. All because he thought I'd let it slide. He was wrong. I don't let betrayal slide. Ever.